Hi, my name is Mark. I'm from TekStack. Thanks for taking in this on-demand webinar where we're going to talk a little bit about how an integrated CRM can help your technology business. So if you think about what a technology business needs to do, you're selling a conceptual product. It's a bunch of bits and bytes. It's not a asset or a thing that has a value to an organization other than through their use. This transaction is entirely different. How you transact with the customer is very different than you would if you're a distributor or manufacturer making widgets. And so, typically the buyer journey for technology is, they do a bunch of education and research, they evaluate a bunch of vendors, including you, and they select you, and then you implement the software or technology service that you've sold them. They use that technology, software, or service, and ideally you can expand and cross-sell and upsell and expand that relationship with the customer over time. Now, in order to facilitate all those kind of stages in the buyer journey, most organizations have to implement many systems. So you implement a marketing automation tool. You may implement a one-to-one, sales outbound prospecting or sequencing tool, CRM tool, an invoicing tool, maybe something that manages subscription and ARR tracking. A tool that helps you manage resource allocation for projects and ensure the projects are successful and can be billed. A ticketing tool. Maybe you evolve to the point where you get a customer success tool where you can manage the renewals and co-terming upsells and look for white space within the organization and integrate telemetry and all this other great information. So typically, you put in all these different tools, they become silos within the organization. You don't necessarily see the full buyer journey in one pane of glass. And that's what we want to talk to you today. We're going to talk a little bit about TekStack's approach to integrated CRM. Everything we do is all based on Microsoft Tech. So everything we are built on is a Power App that sits on Dataverse, the same thing that ClickDimensions is sitting on. So the account and contact and all these key tables are all the same tables within the same environment and the same tenant that you would already be running with Click. Fully integrated Microsoft 365, so that's Outlook and Word and Excel and Teams and SharePoint and OneNote, as well as Power BI for reporting. So let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? These 8 topics. I'm going to start off with the unlocking the capabilities of ClickDimensions. So with that, I'm going to flip over to our CRM system, and we'll get started. So this is TekStack. Looks an awful lot like Dynamics 365 for sales. The reason it is that both Dynamics 365 for sales and TekStack are built on Power Apps. They're model-driven apps. You've got the full waffle here. So I'm in TekStack, but I have access to all the Microsoft Office 365 apps that I'm entitled to. I have my Active Directory up here. Got the full presence indicator and all the great things that you expect being a fully integrated app. What I'm showing you here is basically the marketing dashboard where I can see all my campaign history over the course of the last few weeks. All of my posted forms, which is a ClickDimensions table that has the website form integration, as you guys well know. Full campaign integration, which I'll talk to momentarily. But as you can see, TekStack's fully integrated into all the ClickDimensions capabilities. We're in the marketing app here. I could flip over to sales, flip over to my outbound selling app, which I'll talk to, my delivery app, my billing app, my ticketing system, my customer success. Everything lives within the same app. Okay, so if I flip over to sale now, and if I do a quick search for an account, I'm going to pick up let's say my account Microsoft. Let's say Microsoft is a prospect of ours. Okay. Let's search for one of my prospects, Microsoft. So we have Microsoft. I'm going to open up the account record for Microsoft. So a few key differences with what we've done, and I'll allude to it momentarily with TekStack. We take an account-centric approach to everything we do, and I'll explain why in a little bit. But I just want to show some of the power of the ClickDimensions integration. So first off, you can see here I have my contacts. I have 2 contacts for Microsoft, Satya and Bill Maher. Both have a lead score. So if I open up the Satya record, you can see here that Satya has, I'm going to expand that a little bit. You notice I opened in a modal window, so I didn't have to navigate from the account all the way to my contacts. I opened everything in a modal window. I've got all the marketing activity, all the great click dimensions information fully available right from within the contact. So this is a really nice level of integration. You can see here this concept of a pivot control. We have this essentially a tab within a tab, a really great way to organize information. So I can see whatever campaign responses related to Satya. I can see if he's done any posted forums, which he has, if he's shown up to any events, any email marketing that I've done, any subscription lists that Satya belongs to. All of it's available for your sellers from one view. The other thing that we've integrated here is the whole concept of lead scoring, and I'll talk to that in a little bit as well. How lead scoring can be used in an account-centric approach. So really tight integration with Click. I can show you to here at the contact level, but also if I show at the campaign level. If I take a campaign, let's say I'm tracking all my organic inbound activity as a campaign, right? You might. So all my organics, all forms might be attached to this campaign. So all my demo requests or contact us forms that aren't necessarily on paid programs might be considered organic inbound. I can track all of my ROI. So I know this thing costs 20 grand a year for my website. And I know that I have generated $394,000 of opportunities from that lead source. So we fully integrate the opportunity tracking and lead conversion kind of process, both first and last touch conversion. All of this tracked to campaigns. So everything's fully integrated. So in summary, unlocking the click dimensions capabilities, we can get the intent signals at an account level through lead scoring. I'm going to show you that in a quick second as well. Again, in a quick second, sellers know exactly what the contact's engagement history is within a single click. And campaign attribution shows which campaigns are performing. Next thing we want to talk about a little bit. So here's an example of a sequence that TekStack runs. So this would be a highly automated sequence that went into 1,000 people, and I can track over the 69 days and 10 automated steps just what the engagement was at every level. So 1,000 emails were sent, 33 clicks, 493 opens. And a seller can basically really track what the engagement is, also at a contact level. So you can very easily see all the contacts that have high engagement. And you can, with all the high engagement, and you can pull those contacts out of this automated sequence and put them in a high touch sequence, which is more phone call, LinkedIn kind of based. So really empowers the seller to really up on their sales productivity. Most sellers, have a list of 10,000 contacts that they need to contact. Odds of them getting through all 10,000 is extremely low. And even if they got through, let's say 1,000 of those 10,000, odds of them engaging with them 10 to 12 times, which you need to do as a seller, is probably zero. What sales automation and sales acceleration type platforms like this do is help organize the seller's time and ensure that the right things and the right actions are happening at the right time. So that's also a tool that's available with TekStack, and one that's is fully integrated to all the insights that you get out of Click Dimensions. So with this outbound sequencing capability, you can seller can move high intent buyers into one-to-one sales motion, right? So if you've got a bunch of buyers that are engaging in some of the great marketing work that's happening, you can pull them out of that, stick them in a marketing list, and have a seller go into a one-to-one motion with them. You can choreograph various channels. So for example, phone, email, and LinkedIn, 3 different channels. If you coordinate those activities, for example, if a seller hit a buyer with those 3 activities on one day, that buyer is going to take note and be able to choreograph that kind of activity. Can be automated through this type of tool, and the best part is the seller doesn't actually have to do anything other than respond to the work that was kind of choreographed for them. So they don't actually have to do any extra mouse clicking other than saying, "Yep, I did this phone call. Yep, I did this LinkedIn touch." All of it is very easy to coordinate. Next thing I want to talk about is a little bit more around this concept of account-centric approach to sales, and then I'll go back to my account. So here's my Microsoft account. You can see that this account, I have 2 contacts. I have Bill and I have Satya. Now they're at 50 and 58 points respectively. And you'll note that the total lead score of this account is 108. Now I've configured my environment to tell me that when an account, that is when the contacts of an account have a lead score greater than 0, that account should automatically move to a stage called engaged. And when that account score exceeds 100 points, move it to prioritized. Now, why am I doing that? Essentially, what it's doing for the seller is showing you all the accounts that across all the contacts are starting to show engagement. And as a seller, I may not care to follow up on somebody who's filled out a form to get a buyer's guide. So I might, let's say, put a buyer guide download, which is the top of funnel kind of lead capture with a low intent score, call it 10 or 15 points. But a demo request, I might make it 50 points. But the point is, what I want to do is accumulate some of those intent signals to a certain point where it makes sense to engage with the account. So you're essentially letting the buyer educate themselves, take in the marketing, no problem. But I'm going to focus my efforts as a seller on accounts that have accumulation of that kind of intent. And instead of working off one contact, which is the problem with the lead opportunity kind of concept, you're missing some of you're missing some of the signals unless you track it at an account level. So, for example, I might have Satya who. I can tell very quickly, created a posted form demo request for certain products, showed up to certain events, and then I can see what Bill was up to. Bill, same deal. He filled out the same form that Satya did, demo request. Clearly there's something going on with this organization. What we're doing is taking the lead score from those contact activities and moving it to prioritized. So effectively what we're doing is saying, hey seller, this account is showing some interest and you should pay attention to them. And we do that entirely automatically, and we throw out Teams notifications. We allow marketing to assign a prioritized account if it's still owned by, let's say, a marketing user, and we make sure that that account is getting action. And the best part of it is that we stamp all of these kind of moves, so we know exactly when an account moves between each stage. And this becomes really interesting information because you start to get your conversion between prioritized and pipeline, and how long does it take to go from prioritized to pipeline, which I'm going to show you right now, and how all that works. So it's a really great way to manage your organization at an account level, because quite often lead opportunities, you're missing that account-centric view. And so I'll give you a little bit fuller demonstration of that right now. So you can see with Microsoft, let's say I get on the phone with Satya. Yep, Satya's totally into what we're doing. I'm going to qualify them. I could just click the qualify button, but I'm just going to skip that step and just create an opportunity. So I'm going to say Microsoft cyber risk. Contact is Satya. And my lead source here was organic inbound, demo request, and I can pick which campaign. Now, the sellers may not know which campaign, so you can always have marketing go back and pick the right one. It's not a big deal. You don't need to absolutely capture it right now, but that's what ties the attribution back to the right campaign. So I create that opportunity. We're going to talk about opportunity management in a quick sec, but if I go back to that Microsoft account, you'll see that that account is now a pipeline. So we've moved it from prioritized to pipeline, and we would track the number of accounts that move from prioritized to qualified to pipeline, and then how long it took them to do that. So you get a really great view of velocity and also what your attrition is between showing interest and actually becoming a full-fledged sales opportunity. So really important metrics. I'm going to show you some of those metrics shortly in our Power BI reporting. But that's how essentially we work on an account-centric. Account-centric approach is a much better approach to managing your CRM for B2B technology companies than that lead opportunity process for a lot of reasons. Probably most importantly, according to Forrester, who bought Serious Decisions, and the people who brought Demand Unit Waterfall, who basically came out with all these concepts, MQL, SQL, those kind of things. So Forrester says that 80% of buying decisions in a B2B setting are made by groups of 3 or more people. And with that lead opportunity conversion, you really don't see that at all. You totally miss all those insights. By organizing your business over an account, because I created that opportunity for Microsoft, let's explore a little bit more of that capability. And I'm going to be back at my opportunity. This again, it looked very familiar. It looks a lot like Microsoft's opportunity in terms of the form and the layout and the business process flow running along the top. We've put great thought into what these business processes are, but naturally you can customize them yourself. Some of the improvements we brought forward to the opportunity and opportunity tracking, there's a few of them here. One, I'll talk a little bit about the notion of competition. So again, you can see the pivot control here, a nice way to organize some of these information elements. So tab within a tab, and I can add a competitor here. So say I'm up against Norton. So you can see here I'm working against Norton. One of the cool things we do is we can track all of the previous opportunities that we've engaged with Norton on, if we've won or lost those opportunities, and any wins. And you can see here we haven't had any wins against Norton. So let's just try to change that with this Microsoft opportunity. But a really easy way for your sellers to kind of get at some really valuable competitive information, but also for you to track what your win rate is against certain competitors, which I'll talk a little bit about in reporting a little bit later on. Okay, so some of these capabilities are built in. We also have this great velocity feature. There's not going to be a lot of great data because I just created this opportunity, but a few things here. One, we can track. You can see that I'm in the discover stage here. I can move out of certain stages. One of the things we do is track how many days the opportunity was in a certain stage. If an opportunity was in the discover stage for 180 days, this will say 180, it would be red. But if I moved out of it in this case 0, but anything under a certain setting, let's call it 10 days, it would be green. And the reason is that deals are more likely to close as one, or I should say your win rate on deals is higher when deals move through that first discover phase very, very quickly. I think we all know that. But this allows us to actually track, or sales managers to track, how old or how long deals have been in the discover stage, which allows them to have more confidence in forecasting. We also obviously track the age of a deal, and then specifically how long it's been in a certain stage. So you can see here we track every single move between stages. You could quickly analyze how long does it take to go from verbal to contract, so propose to win or win to close. We can do all those kind of metrics very, very easily. We also track how often the primary contact has emailed us, so how often Satya emailed us in the last month. 0 is bad, 8 is great. So again, conditional coloring to formatting to determine what our engagement level is. As a sales manager, this stuff is gold. You get a real sense of how good these deals are, and for a seller as well, it's a nice reminder if these deals are going to move forward or not. So that velocity tab is really, really powerful. Probably the last thing I'll touch on a little bit, this whole notion of adding products to opportunities. So with Dynamics 365 out of the box, this estimated revenue, actual revenue, whether or not it's integrated to products, do I use quote products versus opportunity products? Honestly, it's a big jumbled mess. Out of the box, barely functions. We have it completely baked. So we separate the concept of products and services, right? I'll add a product here. And I can pick a product. I'm going to pick my cyber risk products or a 1-year subscription. I'm going to say I'm going to do 50 of these products for Microsoft. Subscription products. I'm calculating the monthly price. I can see the subscription terms. So when do I want to start the subscription? On a close date or on a specified date? Is the renewal going to be automatic, or am I going to generate an opportunity in 90 days prior to go get that renewal done? I could have 1 year, 1 month, one multi-year terms. You can define your products with subscriptions any way you want. So you can see what the total ARR is on this deal, MRR, total contract value for this. But in this case, I'm not going to bother. You'll note a few things here. I've got this take notes capability. So what we do is integrate OneNote for every account that reaches a certain point of maturity. Let's say the prioritized stage. You can also make it, let's say, the pipeline stage. We automatically create a OneNote file and SharePoint site to store any documents that you want. So here's my OneNote file from Microsoft. I can make discovery notes. And let's say really quickly, I'm going to draw on here just to kind of prove a point in a quick sec. So I'm going to draw with my fingers. I'm going to make notes about Microsoft and cybersecurity. Okay. So we have this discovery section, but also because I created an opportunity, I also have some the ability to just type some notes about the opportunity so that services can learn more about the account when I transition them. So I can make all the notes I want about Microsoft. It's hanging out as a OneNote file, fully accessible from within CRM, fully accessible within your OneNote, shared OneNote locations on your desktop, on your phone. All of it is fully available for everybody within the organization. I also have this concept of a create teams channel. So you can see that I've been added to this Microsoft team, and I've got a channel automatically created for this opportunity where all the files as well as the notes file from OneNote. So you remember the notes that I made and the drawings that I had, all available from within Teams. I can update it here. It will automatically update here. And of course, the files that I stored in Teams are available from the Microsoft file locations within CRM. So everything ties together perfectly versus like often its own ether between Teams and CRM. They're not actually the same SharePoint locations at all very confusing for users. We've kind of integrated everything together. So that's talking a little bit about the document management capability that we have built in to the product as well. Now what I'm going to do is actually, we have this opportunity. I'm going to close it as one and show you kind of what happens. Now, when I close as one, a few things will happen here. This opportunity becomes inactive. In this case, I've actually separated the order generation, which would spawn the subscription and invoicing and all that kind of stuff. I've separated it. So we might have, let's say, finance needing to do a final review. They might reopen it, make sure they're using the right product, we have the right pricing, whatever. Do all the right things before we actually create an order. But here I'm just going to generate. You can see that the order is created. Now, if I go back to the Microsoft account, you can see that they went from pipeline to implement. And you can see that I have that opportunity is now closed as one. I've generated a new subscription, which is a $60,000 a year subscription with an end date. So I have automatic subscription management built into it. If I drill into that subscription even more, you can see all the pricing details, what I sold it for, all the history, revenue. We generate all the information for deferred revenue, for all the order history. So if you're a customer success manager, you need to know how much of a certain product somebody owns and when the renewal date is and what they paid for. All of it sits there on the account level. And then we also generate the invoice. So in this case, it's all invoice, all in advance. We can do monthly invoicing. You have all the flexibility for your invoice schedules. But here I have a $60,000 invoice that I can send directly from this tool or integrate it to your backend system like Business Central or what have you for invoice generation. So that is very quickly some of the opportunity management, and I start a few things. Velocity shows the real opportunities from the fodder, right? So you can see the velocity for how engaged your contact is with you, how long was it in the original stage, the age of it, all of that kind of stuff. How our pricing models can support subscription-based products and service-based products, and then how we generate orders and invoices out of that. I also talked a little bit about collaboration, so the automation of the creation of a SharePoint site, the OneNote file, the Teams integration, and how all the documents tie together. So really the ultimate dream of being able to tie all the collaboration documents with what's in your CRM system, all of it done automatically, all using Microsoft. Let's talk a little bit about abilities in managing projects. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into great depths here, but I'll show you how projects can be managed. So let's say you're a software organization that has some sort of delivery requirement in order to get customers live on your product, or let's say you're generating great services revenue as a business. Typically, a few things you're challenged with. One is that, amongst all your project managers, each one of them might have a different approach to how they manage projects, what the project plan looks like, what tools they're using to manage it, how they communicate with customers. All that kind of stuff is at the whim of the project manager, and it's a little bit more art than science. The other challenge, so you don't always deliver a consistent result for your customer. The other challenge, of course, is how do you get a view of all the projects that are going on? And so this is where we can help. We centralize all that. It's a full PSA tool, and we centralize all that into one place. One, you can generate projects on templates. So when you, let's say, close an order and they selected the quick launch implementation, that quick launch implementation will always have the same project plan. Project plan comes in, you can evaluate, okay, who's working on what tasks, so who's working the development task for this project. So here I don't have a resource assigned to this task, which is 50 hours, so I can go pick my resource. So I've got 2 resources available between that time period of August 24th to 27th. Both of them have over 200 hours available. I can pick my favorite one. I can pick David and book them. So I can do resource planning that way, and it allows you to do shuffling and make sure you're getting the most. Make sure you're getting the most of the resources. Now you can also track resource utilization. So I can see just how busy David is in whatever period that we're talking about. So here's the Tesla project that I just booked him for. And you can see that David specifically has for June is booked 94 hours. And for June, sorry, he's built 72 hours, 41% utilization, but has only actually entered 21 hours up to this point. So he's obviously still got early in the month in this case, still has lots of work to do. So you can get a good visibility on that. We also make it a lot easier to enter timesheets for your implementation team. So if I opened up, let's say, a timesheet, I can pre-populate the tasks that were scheduled for David, pre-populate the hours he should have worked. You can just simply confirm those hours or tell you what hours and what days he worked, add notes, and then you can track a little widget up here to track whether or not David's hitting his weekly goal. So it makes it easy for David to track that kind of thing. Also makes it a lot easier to track down missing timesheets and things like that. Now those projects are available from the account form as well, so you can, anybody in the organization can see how the project's progressing. It's easy to access. Everything's in one system. We automatically create projects off the sales order, so that really perfects the sales to service handoff, but also ensures that we can use templates to make sure that every project enters from a exact same project structure. Integrated resource management ensures that you can get the most out of the resources that you have and the most out of scheduling and see who's busy and who's not. And if they've been scheduled but not doing the work, you can hunt down the reasons why that is. And then we can, I haven't shown this yet, but we can manage billing for managed services, time, material, and fixed price projects all from within the system. Which is a good transition to the tracking of billing. So I go to my revenue section in the app. You can see here I've got the ability to track all my time entry invoices. my milestone invoices that are coming up due. I can track all my invoice history. All of it gets generated automatically. I can track full revenue. And that could be for services and or subscriptions, essentially recurring revenue out of subscriptions. All of that is automatically generated within the system. Full ability to send invoices directly from in bulk or for a one-off, or integrate to Business Central or another accounting system. Tech companies are often valued on recurring revenue, MRR, ARR, but they often lack the tools to manage it correctly. So we automate all of that out of the orders. Got built-in reporting, which I'll talk to right now, which will make you board ready every single day. We can manage co-term transactions, for example, renewals on June 6th of next year. If I booked an add-on deal midway through the year, I could co-term that order so that I'm not invoicing, I'm only invoicing the prorated amount, not the full amount, so that you can, on the renewal, just invoice for the full renewal, because some customers just want you to send them one invoice a year. So we can manage all that kind of stuff, as well as automatically generating invoices. And of course, a full visibility on who owns what and what they paid for it. And let's talk about built-in reporting. So we are full Microsoft Shop, obviously. Here's Power BI. You'll be familiar with Power BI, but we pre-built all the reports. These are just the sales reports. I have my full funnel analysis, funnel creation. So what's the rate at which I'm creating opportunities? Where are they coming from? Win analysis, what's my win rate over time? And what is that by month, by product? Opportunity analysis, what's my average deal size? How long is my average sales cycle? What's my deal size by new customer versus existing customer? And what's my deal size over time? We also have the ability to manage the subscription revenues. So what this report, not overly exciting, but what it's telling us is that we have renewals coming up in December. You do that by product, and we can do it by customer health, as well as whether or not the customer is has been implemented or not. So you can see your at-risk, very easily see your at-risk renewals. See your subscription growth. So there's $1 million of ARR, negative growth on the month, but infinity growth on the year, and what your churn rate is. So negative 30% is actually great. It's the opposite of net retention. So this is obviously a great example. Essentially, our existing customers are spending 20% more with us from the previous period. So with that, we have to summarize our webinar here, on-demand webinar, fully integrated system, all the processes fully baked in, totally optimized for technology companies that are selling software services, including all the reporting, everything on a Microsoft stack. So with that, I'll leave you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to find us. Talk to you then.